Welcome back to The Line. Independent journalist Jeff Proctor reported this week on an ATF sting in Albuquerque that's raised a lot of questions. Federal officials say the drug sting targeted, quote, the worst of the worst, end quote, but the arrests don't tell the same story. We put a link to his article on our website, NewMexicoInFocus.org, if you want to read it, and I very much recommend that you do. And Eric, just reporting, highlighted a high rate of African-American men were arrested in this sting, and there are allegations that other cities using the same ATF guys who came here to Albuquerque brought the same MO, so to speak, and they've been under pressure in a lot of other states. And now Jeff's uncorked this. What did you make of it when you first read this?
It was a great piece, first of all. I mean,
right on. Yep.
Anybody had any denial about that these practices are still happening? You know, the African American population in New Mexico is small, as we know. Right. So to have these sort of huge disproportionate contact with African Americans. I mean, the numbers were also striking for Hispanics and Native Americans, but it speaks to this whole idea that that justice is truly blind in law enforcement. We support law enforcement, but when you see the absolute disconnect between what the population looks like and who they're targeting, and sadly, if anybody who's been up to MDC, if you look at the you would not think you were in New Mexico because that population looks you see tons more African Americans, tons more Native Americans, and Hispanics, and it just doesn't look like the population. So you have to ask yourself fundamentally, are they in fact, and some people argue this, committing more crimes, or in fact, is there this really deep culture of disproportionate minority contact, which is playing into stereotypes, playing into racial profiling, and I think sadly this report is proof positive that we have a major problem. And sadly, it's not just the federal level. There's good evidence this is still happening at the state and local level with minority contact. And I think it's a great piece, and it's a wake-up call for law enforcement.
Yeah, interesting. 3.3% for African Americans here, Tom. You know, it's interesting, but 27% of these 103 that were rounded up in this sting I'm mentioning were African American. But it's not so much the what, it's the how, isn't it? When you take people who are struggling and living in their cars and they have drug addictions, and you offer them $5 or $10 to go set up a sting for you, something just doesn't feel quite right there. And then the results, of course, is, as we've learned from Jeff's piece, is that African Americans would lead them to other African Americans, and so the whole thing would just pile on itself, and you got a big mess on your hands.
Yeah, and I think that's, you hit the right words. It's a big mess. Right. And there are a lot of different things, and I mean, the article raises a lot of very important issues that need to be raised. Eric brings up some great points as well, and Jeff in the article. Let me I won't come to the defense of ATF, but I will say that what law enforcement needs to do is that they need to do a better job in working with media on on stories like this. Jeff Proctor's piece, it did not include a whole lot of feedback, if any, other than court testimony from alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. Right. And there's a philosophy in law enforcement that we are only going to engage the media when it suits us. And and that type of strategy backfires, especially on coverage like this, because the numbers definitely speak for themselves. That that there is an appearance, and definitely in the number of folks who were hit by this sting, of a disproportionate arrest record, and not only that, but the number of folks, as far as 46 of the 103 defendants have pleaded guilty.
That's right.
And then the rest of those have pleaded not guilty, and that could be for a variety of different reasons. But still, when out of 103, that's a really low number, and stuff. So it smells, it stinks, and the federal law enforcement needs to come out, and they need to be able to say, what, we want to work with you and really address this issue.
That's right.
And I just don't see any of that happening.
That's right. Let me go back, Sophie, to something I mentioned that Jeff did a great job of really putting out there. This idea that ATF, it keeps telling us they're getting the worst of the worst. And one of
Isn't it nice to learn that Albuquerque must not be that bad?
That's right. That's
because if this is the worst of the worst, we're hearing from experienced defenders that worst of the worst for a federal prosecution, they'd expect to see $150,000 or more in the value of the drugs that were seized or the firearms or whatever, and we're looking at $40, $300, $1,200, really small amounts.
It was about $110,000 total from those 103 people in this sting. 110, that doesn't add up.
There's something else, though. For a number of years now, there has been a conversation about how important it is to recognize that if somebody doesn't have to go to prison, if we can instead intercede, provide mental health care, provide substance abuse help, provide training to help people get into jobs, that if you can keep somebody from getting that, especially felony conviction, because they are small fry, then you can sort of transform the landscape.
Right.
What I think one of the things that's so upsetting about this sting is that there seems to be some consensus that there's value in that, and not just throwing people in prison and essentially creating a situation where you can't get a job, you can't, all these things that sort of redound as a result of that, but not for some reason for the African American community.
Right.
And this long-term discussion about for instance, about the penalties going back to the 80s for powder cocaine versus crack cocaine. And so one of the things that's so upsetting about this is, while we talk about it, we have not really gotten very far, have we?
Right, exactly. One quick question. I want 10 seconds on it. I got to get to Rachel. Discriminatory intent. What did you make of that? That was a quote from one of the defendant's attorneys.
It's a strong statement, and it's very difficult, I think, so we've got these sort of civil rights allegations that are being made by the defense in the hopes that that can help to protect their clients. Unfortunately, it seems like it's a long shot. But the more of these busts that happen, the more grist there is for these discussions.
Yeah. Interesting. It's so visceral reading this, wasn't it? It just like hit you in the gut. Like this can't be possible for a 3.3% population to shoulder this kind of load and being fanned out into the community with basic instructions, bring back all the bad guys, and then they end up getting jacked for helping out ATF. It's a bizarre situation.
There was so much in this story that was disturbing on so many levels, really concerning patterns that are having a discriminatory effect on a community. And also the things that we've discussed about the resources that we're allocating and where. Albuquerque has a crime problem, and here we are investing all these resources in this sting that appeared to be targeting the lowest level offenders.
We're under a minute. Eric, are the feds doing the job of local law enforcement? Is that why they were brought in here, because we couldn't get it done on this level? I don't understand the need for these guys in the first place.
Well, not to sound like a anti-federalist here, but the whole idea, and this is happening at the federal level with the Trump phenomenon, that we're going to come into Chicago, and we're going to come into these crime-ridden communities, and we're going to sort of take over, which is frightening because it leads to this kind of law enforcement.
That's right.
Good law enforcement, and my friends who are members of law enforcement will tell you this, is good community relations, knowing your community, working with your community, working with schools, working with businesses, and figuring out where
not parachuting in,
not coming in and sort of going for the worst of the worst, which is in the eye of the beholder, right?
And it's worth noting that the article mentions that it was a local politician who called them in, and that locals said, "Let's target the Southeast Heights." It's not Southeast Heights, but the Southeast.
That's right.
So I mean, yes.
Interesting. Have to leave it there, unfortunately. Now we'll continue to follow up on this story with Jeff Proctor, but thank you all for being here. Appreciate it.